Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Fantasy Football Fix Game Week 32 deadline live stream. My name is FPL Nacho, and I cannot wait to get cracking with this live stream because it feels like it's a little bit of a damp squid Game Week 32. A lot of people gearing up for the double game weeks in 33, 36, 37, and it almost feels like Game Week 32 is kind of a lot of people just wishing disappears already ahead of the double in 33. But I guarantee we're going to make this an exciting live stream because I still think there's plenty of hot topics to discuss. And of course, with it being a deadline live stream, you guys need to fire any questions that you have in the chat, and I will make sure that I answer all of them ahead of the 6:30 UK time deadline. And just to quickly cover some of the hot topics we will be looking at: Barnes versus Maddison. We'll be looking at Mo Salah versus Fernandez, whether you can justify selling Bruno Fernandez for, of course, obviously selling Mo Salah ahead of Bruno Fernandez. Going to be looking, of course, at the Fantasy Football Fix algorithm points, the Elite 11, the algorithm team. Going to be really beneficial for those managers that are looking at some one-week punts. Really recommend sticking around for that. And as always, guys, everything is taken from the Fantasy Football Fix website, the leading FPL platform. So, again, we're in a tough spot right now in fantasy. You want to win those mini leagues, make sure you do check out fantasyfootballfix.com. All the details are in the bio. And, of course, if you are enjoying the stream, do drop it a like before you leave and hit that subscribe button if you are new around here. Ian, hope you're doing well. JJ, Chris, hope you guys are doing very well. And Tom, of course, evening, mate, hope you are doing well. Ian saying rolling the double next week. Yeah, I think rolling your transfer for the double game week next week is a really strong place to be in. There are going to be some interesting moves, like going for an Arsenal defender with that home game against Brighton. But with Tierney and Thomas Partey out, could there potentially be a chance of Brighton to cause an upset? We don't know. JJ, of course, hope you're doing well. Chris, rank in order your top 5 captains this week. So before we dive into the predicted points, I personally would have it as Harry Kane or Son number 1. I can't back Man United right now to say that Ronaldo or Fernandez should be number 1. But I think Kane and Son right up there. I think then followed behind that should rightly so be Fernandez or Ronaldo, just because they are playing Everton, but that's only reason I'm putting them up there. Then I think the likes of Rafinha's and even then Salah's come into the equation, but I definitely would have the Spurs boys right at the top of the list right now. And Mina saying captain Son or Saka. I personally would have Son as the captain of the two, but with the home fixture that Arsenal do have, I can see the temptation for going Saka there. And Mocha FUT, hello, start Pope or Ramsdale. I think that's a really good opportunity for us to later on look at the algorithm points for you. But again, as a personal opinion, it has to be Ramsdale. I think that is definitely the route that I would go for, even though they have some key personnel missing in that Arsenal lineup. So as I mentioned, guys, we are going to be looking at some of the hot topics. So I think first off, what I want to touch on is Maddison versus Harvey Barnes, a discussion that a lot of us are having right now. And rightly so, because Leicester do have an okay fixture in game week 32, but then a double in 33, a double in 36, and in 37. So while it might not pay dividends bringing in a Leicester midfielder right here, right now, I do think between now and the end of the season, we do need to get ourselves some sort of ownership in that Leicester attack. And the midfielders look like the route to go to while Jamie Vardy is ruled out. So I've brought up the player heat maps over on fantasyfootballfix.com, filtered it from game weeks 1 to 32 for us to get an idea on which player is operating the best. Now, as I mentioned, they have played slightly different minutes. Maddison 1,821 to Barnes' 1,665. But when we come down to the player heat map here, you can see Harvey Barnes very much more in that final third, as you can expect Maddison operating in and around the middle third, being the creative force in that team. Barnes being much more over the top of the defence, as we've come to realise with him. But importantly, James Maddison on set pieces. Again, doesn't mean it's going to correlate to goals, but it's always a great string to have in your bow, being the set piece taker in this Leicester team, while they don't necessarily score the most goals from corners. And again, the important thing here, guys, what I want to show here is the underlying stats for both players, because right now 8 goals for James Maddison to Harvey Barnes is 3. So when we are looking at it from an output perspective, James Maddison is winning in this department every day of the week. And as we mentioned, minutes are in his favour as well. But again, injuries have conflicted the minutes for both of these players. Expected goals. Now, again, for those that do love their stats, this is where we do start to draw conclusions on players. And the expected goals does fall into James Maddison's lap as well. 5.23 expected goals to Harvey Barnes' 4.34. So, again, a classic example of Maddison outperforming his expected goals, Harvey Barnes underperforming his expected goals right now. But again, James Maddison, it's not like he's got a 2 expected goals and operating at an 8 goal outlet. It's good to see that Maddison's still delivering the expected goals. And the big thing about Maddison as well, he is a long shot merchant. So some of the goals he has scored this season has probably come from an expected goals of 0.01. We've seen some of the worldies that he's scored. So it's great to see him actually having decent expected goals, because he is an example of a player that does take pot shots from unlikely goal areas. Shots, very, very similar. I'm not going to draw too much from that. And shots on target as well, very similar. But as we saw from the player heat map, Harvey Barnes getting plenty more touches in and around the box. And that is clear and evident here. 41 shots in the box for Harvey Barnes, 24 for James Maddison. So while that hasn't correlated to expected goals in Harvey Barnes' favour, it is good to see that Harvey Barnes is getting plenty more shots in the box. If he can get that finishing in place, then we could see potentially more points from him. But expected assists in Maddison's favour and attempted assists in Maddison's favour. And again, the same correlates when we do look at average statistics per 90. So, as I mentioned, guys, if we're looking at a Leicester midfielder for this game week in isolation, I think it's a really dangerous time to bring in a Leicester midfielder. Main reason being is we're right in the middle of a Europa League cup tie. And clearly, Rodgers is going to be prioritising that second leg. That second leg. So, while we are discussing Leicester midfielders, I think game week 33 is the time for us to prioritise those transfers. So, if you're on a spot right now, one free transfer available, looking to potentially make a move or roll the free transfer, my recommendation would probably be to roll the free transfer, gain some more information, understand where Leicester are out of the cup or not. Then we look to prioritise Leicester midfielders ahead of that great double game week 33. Now, it's worth mentioning, although Maddison right now would be my pick of the two based on the underlying stats and the output, looking at our algorithm for the next 5 league matches, we have Harvey Barnes predicted to score 35.8 points. Maddison, on the other hand, only 25. So really interesting reading there, because on the face of it, based on the past performance, Maddison is going to be my pick for you guys. But looking at future projections, it's going to be Harvey Barnes who is the man to own. So read on that what you will. I personally would probably favour Maddison, but again, the algorithm points speaks for itself, and it's not like it's close there. 10 predicted points clear, Barnes is. So let me know in the chat, guys, what your thoughts are on Barnes versus Maddison. I personally am right now in the Maddison camp, but it's great to see Barnes in the predicted points camp being massively ahead of Maddison. So it's really interesting to read into that. Mark saying Willock to Maddison. A transfer that I haven't seen a lot of people discuss in terms of selling Willock. I do like that one, Mark. I would just say be cautious. As I mentioned, Leicester rotation is going to be definitely happening this game week. We could see Maddison dropped, Barnes dropped, or even both. So just be cautious of that with your transfer. The Pyramids are saying Weghorst, Tony or Rafinha have to bench one. I probably am going to say Tony of the 3 there. However, Weghorst is really not doing much on the eye test perspective. I'm mainly saying that based on the fixture in hand that they have. So if it's in regards to fixtures, I would start Weghorst and Rafinha. If we're looking at form and general eye test, I would bench Weghorst. So it's really about what kind of manager you are there for sure. I'm going to say bench 1, Laporte, Trent or Weghorst, and you have Cancelo. I probably would look to bench Laporte then if you're in that position. You have Man City coverage in defence and you have the attacking asset that I mentioned in Cancelo. You've got Trent. Again, we're not necessarily expecting clean sheets, but he definitely could deliver in the attacking department. So I think you could afford to drop Laporte and have Weghorst and hope that the tree of a man scores, because right now he is just being woeful. Ian, hi Nacho, which 3 of the following would you start this week? White, Martinelli, Weghorst, Mount, Mateta, and Robertson. Right, so this is going to test my knowledge right now. So I am going to bring up the fixture analyzer just for us to have a look at the fixtures in hand. And if we filter it by game week 32, we can get a bit of an idea here on who each team has. Now, first and foremost, I don't even have to look at the fixtures right now. I 100% would start Martinelli, absolutely, based on the fixture that they do have in place. Now, you mentioned about starting 3 of the following. White probably has the highest expected clean sheet of the bunch there. So I think that's the boring pick to go for from the defenders. Mount versus Weghorst, I think Mount's minutes could be a risk ahead of the Real Madrid game. Hasn't been playing very well in the Chelsea team. I would not be surprised to see Ziyech feature for Chelsea. So I would look to start Martinelli. I probably would chuck in Ben White. And I think Robertson would get there as well for me. Again, if you're a bit more an offensive manager, you could look to start Mateta or Weghorst. But have we seen enough from Weghorst? I don't think so. So definitely Martinelli. I definitely would put Robertson in. And I think I would probably put White. But that probably is more of the boring pick. And it's worth mentioning, Arsenal do have Tierney and Thomas Partey out. That could definitely influence them from a defensive perspective. So it is worth noting that when you are selecting Arsenal defenders. But coming back to the hot topic, guys. Past performance, Maddison is winning in that department, hands down. But future performance, and looking at it from our predicted points, it is going to be Harvey Barnes. So it really is all about what camp you sit in. I personally would probably just favour James Maddison, just from a bias perspective. I'm a big fan of him, but I can see why Harvey Barnes is predicted to score points just because of the areas that he's getting himself into. And then 41 shots in the box, surely going to translate to goals at some point. We know Harvey Barnes, from a finishing perspective, isn't up there with Jamie Vardy at all. So guys, as I mentioned, drop the comments. Please let me know your thoughts moving forward. But I just want to quickly show you the transfer landscape going into this game week, mainly because our next hot topic is going to be looking at Salah to Bruno Fernandez. Now, while Bruno Fernandez isn't necessarily top of the charts for transfers in, when we look at Mo Salah transfers out, 150,000 transfers out, and you can see the number one transfer is Salah to Fernandez. That's consisting 33% of the transfer combinations. So a lot of managers right now identifying the Everton away game in game week 32 and the double for Man United in 33 as a great time to move away from Mo Salah and bring in Fernandez. Now, first and foremost, what's my opinion on selling Mo Salah to Bruno Fernandez? Well, my personal opinion before we get to the underlying stats is I like it if you are wildcarded in game week 34. If you're wildcarded in game week 34 and you're at a rank that you're really not happy with right now, I think this is a brilliant opportunity to move away from Mo Salah to Bruno Fernandez. I expect Mo Salah's price to fall in the coming game weeks, and you're bringing in a player that has a great fixture away against Everton, but importantly a double in game week 33. So yes, I love the move if you are wildcarded in game week 34. And we're going to start looking at the underlying stats for both players now, because what I have done is filtered it from game week 20 to game week 31. Now, the reason I've done that is because if we look at it on the face of it from game week 1 onwards, then Salah is going to absolutely destroy Bruno Fernandez because he's been in unbelievable form this season. However, the reason why managers are questioning Mo Salah as an FPL asset is because of that recent form. And while it is a little bit biased for me to pick a sort of time that Salah has started to decline, I still think that recency and in that sense, information is important to tap onto because a lot has happened in that period. Coming back off the African Cup of Nations, of course, difficult time for Mo Salah from an international perspective. Read into that what you will. Some managers don't believe that will impact him. I'm at the camp that it will affect him as an FPL option, but not necessarily to the effect that a lot of managers are thinking it will. So, filtered it by the last 11 game weeks for us to get an idea on where both assets sit as an option. And you can see there, Fernandez has outscored Mo Salah over this period, 63 points to 55 points for Mo Salah, and the points per game is in Fernandez's favour, but only just. Now, when we look at the player heat maps, again, it is all about Mo Salah in the player heat map section. All those touches in and around the box. Bruno Fernandez naturally getting those touches in the middle third, being the creative force of the team. But again, on set pieces, as we mentioned, is a great string on his bow. But again, I want to come down to underlying stats here for us to get an idea on how they've been operating as assets. Now, goals department, 5 goals for Mo Salah, 4 for Bruno Fernandez. But those expected goals for Mo Salah cannot be reiterated enough. 8.63 expected goals. So a lot of managers right now are looking at the output of Mo Salah, 5 goals, and looking at it just at that face value. But when we look at the underlying stats, they are still fantastic for Mo Salah. 8.63 expected goals, still unbelievable. And he really is underperforming in that department. Fernandez, on the other hand, definitely better than we were expecting. Underlying stats, 5.12 expected goals, his output of 4 goals, showing that he is underperforming as well, based on his underlying metric. So Salah in a league of his own when it comes to the expected goals, but Fernandez is ticking over really nicely over this time period, and he's not necessarily having the output but terrible underlying stats. We are seeing the underlying stats to match the output for Fernandez. And when we look at the goal assists, Fernandez winning that department, and expected assists look really good for Bruno Fernandez. I'm going to leave up on the screen here the average statistics per 90 for you to check them out, because you can see there, very similar vein of form. Salah in the goal department, Fernandez in the assist department. Now, the one thing I want to touch on before we move on to your questions, guys, is why do I like it if you're wildcarding in game week 34? Well, looking at our projected points in the next 2 game weeks. So you have to remember that includes for Mo Salah, away to Man City and at home to Man United. Bruno Fernandez in the same period is away to Everton and has a double game week, home to Norwich and away to Man United and away to Liverpool. So you have to remember there is an additional game for Fernandez over the next 2 game weeks. Predicted points. Fernandez, 14.1 predicted points. Mo Salah, 11.3. So although Bruno has that additional game, he isn't necessarily massively dominating Salah in the predicted points. But I would say that's enough of a difference there to justify you moving to Bruno Fernandez. Now, why should you wildcard in game week 34 if you are down this route? Well, from game week 34 to game week 38, we have our predicted points with Bruno Fernandez to score 20.9 points. Mo Salah in the same period, 40.3. Almost double what Bruno Fernandez is predicted to score. So that's why I urge massive caution if you don't have your wildcard. If you are moving from Mo Salah to Bruno Fernandez, yes, love it for the next 2 game weeks. However, if you get yourself stuck in a situation where you can't go back up to Mo Salah from game week 34 onwards, I really think it is going to hinder your FPL team. So tread carefully, guys. But I think Fernandez is great for the short term, but long term, it's Mo Salah every day of the week. So let me know in the comments, guys, what your thoughts are there. Are you in the Mo Salah camp? Are you in the Bruno Fernandez camp? Let me know. Right, let's touch on some of these questions here, guys. First up, Son heard a rumour and emphasis on the word rumour that Saka could end up playing left back this game week. No idea if true though. Right, so again, I have heard that rumour, but there's clearly no real evidence behind it. I don't think it's enough of a reason for us to be getting rid of Saka. I think it's a brilliant opportunity for us to just watch this game week unfold, see how it operates, and then we can go from there. If Saka does become a left back in this Arsenal team, which I personally be very surprised at, then it might really dwindle his actual FPL appeal. But right now, I think we stick with Saka. Otherwise, a sideways move to Martinelli could be the better option if that does unfold. Debating Sancho versus Foden this week. Well, I think if we're looking at over the next 2 game weeks, it's very similar to the Fernandez versus Salah debate. I think you probably do go Sancho because you have the double in 33 and you double down on the Man United assets there and then maybe look to move away from them. In terms of a long-term perspective, I think I do prefer Foden over Sancho, but Sancho for the short term would be my pick there. Aditya, Tierney to Dalot. Would I sell Tierney to Dalot? Well, I don't mind the move, but I'm not massive on the Man United defence. And we know that Wan-Bissaka can play at any point in that Man United defence. So personally, I'm not a big fan of that sideways move. I think you can go in other directions. Dalot would be a bit of a risk for me. I don't back the Man United defence. And I don't fancy Dalot to play every single minute between now and the end of the season. I think Wan-Bissaka will get game time in and around that period. Chris, Martinelli and Cristiano Ronaldo, or Kane and Lennon. Again, I would hate to go without Harry Kane, but if you are backing Ronaldo to feature or play every minute of the next 2 game weeks, I would fancy the Martinelli and Ronaldo route. but it's going to be a very brave stomach to have, because having no Kane in the next 2 game weeks could be very difficult not to have. So I prefer Martinelli and Ronaldo, but only in the assumption that you think Ronaldo is going to play most minutes in the next 2 game weeks. Ash, hi, would you transfer Havertz to Bowen? No, I would not make that move. Main reason being, we know that Bowen is in a position right now where he's just come back from injury, and that is a critical second leg for West Ham. I personally don't think that Bowen is going to feature heavily in game week 32. I don't think they need to feature him heavily in game week 32. And that's why that's enough of a risk for me to not selling Havertz to bring in Bowen. So I think that's probably a route I would not consider right now in that area. So I think it's a good opportunity, guys, for us to check out the algorithm points for game week 32. We check out who are the best players to own, and then we can look at it from a bit more of a longer term perspective, because some players, while they might look great in game week 32, might not look like the best options going forward. So if you are in a position right now where you're wildcarding in the short term, then we are looking at few 1 week, 2 week punts, of course. If we're looking longer term, you don't have the wildcard, we need to make sure that your transfers are future proof so that they can actually return over the longer term rather than in that short term. So won't be surprised to hear, guys, that Son is top of the charts in our predicted points. 5.2 predicted points, which is 0.2 more than Harry Kane. Now, again, it's worth mentioning that really isn't enough of a disparity for me to sit here and say Son is absolutely the correct captain over Harry Kane. We need to make sure that is clear. While he is 0.2 clear of Harry Kane, not a big enough difference for me to sit here and say that. I think Kane, what he has in his favour, of course, is penalties, set pieces, etc. Son, on the other hand, that additional point for clean sheets and goals is massively, in his favour. So Son, if I had to put right now, captaincy Son versus Kane, I think I'd probably still go for Harry Kane. I just feel like he's a bit more dangerous, but Son, clearly in our predicted points department, is coming out on top. But interestingly, at 5.1 predicted points, Rafinha is looking like a great budget option. And if you are chasing rank right now, not fancying the Spurs boys, you're really going off cold with Mo Salah in his fixture against Man City, I think Rafinha could be a really nice option as well. 5.1 predicted points against a Watford team who sometimes turn up, sometimes don't. It really depends on what Watford do turn up. So Rafinha I really do like as a differential captain. And then we're seeing the likes of Fernandez pop up. No Ronaldo, interestingly, but Fernandez at 5 predicted points. Again, justifying why it is a decent sideways move from Mo Salah to Fernandez for the short term. And I want to reiterate that, for the short term. So guys, let me know obviously in the chat, what are your thoughts on the predicted points coming up? Is there any assets that you are surprised that are on the list? Because Havertz, for example, is one that I am surprised to see at 4.9 predicted points. I do think that he could be a bit of a minutes risk with the second leg against Real Madrid coming up. Is it an opportunity for him to give minutes to Lukaku? It's going to be interesting to see what Tuchel team comes out in game week 32. But let me know, guys, obviously, what your thoughts are. Richmond, Maddison versus Saka versus Bowen. Who should I get this game week? I think in this game week in isolation, I would target Saka as an option. Otherwise, I think Maddison long-term looks great, but you have to be cautious that the minutes could be risked with the Europa League involvement later down the line. Guy Total Ramsdale as this week's goalkeeper has to be Ramsdale of the two for me, absolutely. Should I start Cancelo or Martinelli is the shout? Well, looking at our predicted points for Martinelli, we can see here, if I filter it, Martinelli predicted to score 3.8 points. Cancelo, on the other hand, 3.6 points. So probably would recommend, based on our predicted points, to go for Martinelli. I think the upside is probably there for him against a Brighton team who defensively haven't necessarily been the greatest team recently. But Cancelo, you do have to remember, Man City, brilliant defensive outlet. If you don't have ownership in that defence and they do keep a clean sheet, could be a bit of a hit on your rank. But probably would just go Martinelli. But I'm one of those managers that hates benching premium defenders. I just think they could return at any point. Kane or Havertz captain, it's got to be Harry Kane for me of the two. JP, Salah out for Son, Fernandez, love that. Sancho as a 2 game week punt. Well, as I mentioned, I do think that Salah to Fernandez would be my 2 game week punt. And looking at our predicted points as well, and as I mentioned, I want to bring these up because I know a lot of managers right now are in that spot where they're looking to do a wildcard in game week 34, so they have the luxury of going for 1 to 2 week punts. This is where we see Fernandez and Ronaldo really come into their own. Barnes is top of the tree, 14.5 predicted points, but again, is his minutes a risk with, of course, the second leg of the Europa League? I think that is definitely worth considering in your transfer strategy. And again, I think if you are selling Salah, you've got all this cash available. I think it makes it only right for your team structure to go sideways to Bruno Fernandez. And the predicted points do back that up as well. 14.1 predicted points over the next 2 game weeks. In particular, game week 33. You can see there 9.1 predicted points. So he's looking a great sideways move. Ronaldo, on the other hand, 13.6 predicted points. But I think the big thing here is, do you stray away from Harry Kane? I think a lot of managers right now, the only way they're getting to Ronaldo is to sell Harry Kane. And I personally don't think I would have the stomach to sell Harry Kane in the form that he's in right now for a Cristiano Ronaldo who we don't even know if he is absolutely 100% fully fit. Looking at Harry Kane over the next 2 game weeks, we can see here he has a predicted points of 10.4. So he's about 3 points back from Cristiano Ronaldo. And I personally think that isn't enough of a gap for me to consider making that move. So I think Salah to Fernandez, I do like that move. Kane to Ronaldo, I just can't justify it. Even though our predicted points do say it, I think Kane is just in a brilliant vein of form right now. And I probably would hold on to Harry Kane. But let me know in the chat, guys, what your thoughts are on that one. Right, guys. Ash, I agree. Aston Villa likely to score 1, so Kane is better captain versus Son due to no clean sheet. Okay, that's an interesting shout, Ash. It's going to be really interesting to see how Aston Villa do adapt against Spurs. Aston Villa haven't had too much joy recently, so it's going to be really interesting to see how they do adapt. Harshal, Bowen or Havertz for a 1 week punt? If I was looking at a 1 week punt, it probably would be Havertz this game week. But again, I think both of their game time is a risk due to European involvement. Scully plays, I need a midfielder under 6, 5.5 million to replace Coutinho. Who do I get? I might just go cheap and get Fred because he's so cheap. We never go Fred. That is the rule of this live stream. No, I can't knock anybody going for any player, but Fred is a very difficult one for me to sell to you. So again, because of our predicted points, it's a brilliant tool for us to look at and filter it by. So let's get the midfielders up, and we're going to be looking at 6 million, I believe you said, or cheaper. Over the next... Wow. I take it all back. Fred is coming out best on our predicted points, 9.8. So, apologies I mocked you, but he is coming out on top. Now, if you said to me, would I rather have Fred or Martinelli? I'm probably going to tell you Martinelli personally, even though our predicted points has Fred slightly higher. So, Martinelli would be my favourable choice. Read into the predicted points what you will. I will say this, Fred probably is going to play every minute of the next 2 game weeks, so it's worth noting that. Now, I'm not sure about the sort of time frame that you're looking at. If we pan it out a little bit longer, we get the game week 36 and 37s involved, then we get Martinelli really dominating in this area. And you can see that 27.1 predicted points over this time frame. So I probably would say if you are in the market for a midfielder at that price range, Martinelli is going to be the man that I would recommend for you. Again, guys, let me know in the chat what your thought process is there and who you would go for as well. And again, if you are enjoying the stream, we always try and aim for 50 likes. If you can get us there, once again, we really would appreciate that, guys. Be a massive help for the channel, of course. Ice Cold Jones, what a great name. Should I put Shah, Mitchell or Fofana in? Okay, so first and foremost, again, Fofana coming back from a mega injury. He is their best defender, hands down. Will his game time be influenced by the Europa League commitments? That's a question mark that I would have in there. Again, before I put my opinion in, I think it's a good opportunity for us to check out the defenders for this department. Now, as we mentioned, looking at Mitchell, we can see that his predicted points over this period is 24.5. Fabian Schär, on the other hand, 18.9. So Mitchell winning in that department if we're looking at it over a longer term perspective. And the last up was Fofana and he is coming out at 14.3. Now, what I would say about Fofana is, if he does feature every minute between now and then, I probably would have Fofana as the pick. Mainly because he doubles in game week 33, doubles in 36 and 37. It's just really how he does bounce back from that injury and how much responsibility Brendan Rodgers puts on him between now and the end of the season. I think the longer Leicester stay in the Europa League, the worse that is as a Fofana asset. So it's worth noting that. I think if they continue in the Europa League, that makes me less and less interested for Fofana. And then I'll probably be more tempted by Mitchell as the option. One I want to chuck in there, Anderson could be an option for you. 24 predicted points. That's another one that I would consider for you. And again, if we are looking around the 5 million and less department, we can see there that Matip and Tavares come out on top. But again, that is going to be all about rotation in the Liverpool centre-backs. And Tavares is going to be all about what sort of direction Arteta goes with. I would be worried that they're going to find an alternative to Tavares in that left-back spot. So then Ben White comes into the equation. I think that's a really interesting shout. Double in game week 33, double in game week 36, guaranteed minutes. I think that's an area I'll definitely consider as well for you going forward if you are looking for an option. Right then, let's have a look, guys, see what we have here. Who going to get to replace Coutinho? I hope that previous section did help you out before the defender section. Make sure you do rewind it if you need to. I have James already. Should I start Rudiger or Mateta? I personally would go for Rudiger. We know that... Oh, apologies. You have James already. That's going to be a really interesting one. Okay, so Mateta with his fixture this game week. We're looking at the algorithm points again, guys, to get an idea on how Mateta fares in that department. So if we filter it by him, we can see 3.4 projected points in game week 32. Rudiger, on the other hand, 3.9. I think you're in a position where you have reached James already. I would be almost tempted to go for Mateta, go for a bit of a different sort of balance in your team. Otherwise, if you are confident in that Chelsea clean sheet, naturally you want to double down. I think Rudiger's a good option. I'll be half tempted to go for the Mateta option. I'm a little bit worried about Chelsea right now. The European exertions, how that's going to influence them. So it is worth noting that as we speak. So, guys, 30 minutes until the deadline, less than 30 minutes. Please make sure that you have some idea on the direction that you're taking your team. That's really, really important. We've covered on the algorithm points. Again, any questions you guys have, please do drop them in. We will get the Fancy Football Fix website to help you answer those questions, along with my humble opinion as well. But what I want to quickly do, and if you are a regular to the channel, you'll know that this is a brilliant part of the live stream and a beautiful access to some of the best managers in the world. And that's going to be the Elite 11. Now, it's worth mentioning, we have about half an hour until the deadline here. So I will be surprised if there's massive changes to the Elite 11 teams. But if you are new around here, the Elite 11, a brilliant part of the Fancy Football Fix website. And we have some of the best managers in the world. You can see there, 74 top 10k finishes, 55 top 5k finishes. These guys are on absolute flames, season in, season out. And this part of the website is brilliant because we get a live kind of view of what the transfers these managers are making. And it's brilliant because we can enable notifications. So if you do follow a certain manager that you love, you will get a notification straight away on your phone whether they have made a transfer and what direction they are going with their teams. And you can see the consensus 11 here, which is effectively an amalgamation of the Elite 11, combining the Elite 11's knowledge into one aggregated team for you to follow. And you can see there lots of Arsenal involvement in the defensive department. And they've gone as a combination for the Kane upfront strategy and then investing in the budget option of Kulusevski in the midfield. Now, I know that a manager has made his transfers, but again, you can see here, Mr. Black, the amount of top 10k finishes is absolutely disgusting seeing that. But I want to come down here to see Dan Bennett, another one who's enjoying an amazing season right now. And the brilliant part about it is that you can see their manager notes. So Dan Bennett right now, the TNA injury, not ideal, planning to hold him to the end of the season. Could go to Cancelo or James as a replacement, but this game week is tempted by Doherty. Great form, Spurs have good fixtures, feels a bit late to the Doherty train, doesn't mind jumping on now as he still thinks he'll do well. Undecided on a free hit 33 versus 36, leaning towards 36 or 37. So really good to get a deep dive into their mindsets. But I want to come all the way down because I know there has been a transfer by Walter Randazzo. What a brilliant name that is. And he has gone for Dyer out to Doherty. So clearly seeing the potential that Doherty is offering. I agree with that move. And it's a bit of a luxury move that I would say for Walter there. And when we come down as well a bit further, you can see Copenhagen Wednesday here. His free transfer has been Bruno Fernandez. Salah to Bruno Fernandez. Now, he does not have a wildcard available. So while I only urge this move if you have a wildcard available, gone slightly against it here. Gone for Bruno Fernandez, and I really do think that is a brave move, but a real upside move that could pay massive dividends over the long term. So don't mind that move there, but again, I would urge managers doing it only if they have their wildcard available. And Kevin here with his team there, you can see on the left-hand side, and coming down here, his move has been Jimenez to Mateta. Of course, Jimenez still suspended. Mateta looks like a great long-term budget hold for those teams. And another combination of transfers here for Nicholas. Ramsey out to Maddison and Antonio out to Mateta. And it's worth mentioning Nicholas does have his second wildcard available. So he can obviously shift this team out. If Maddison's game time is hindered, he can look to move him out with ease. So team looking really strong there. And he has the double Leicester involvement as well. So if you're enjoying the Elite 11, guys, and you do think it's a tool that you would benefit from, make sure you do check it out on Fantasy Football Fix. I feel privileged that I can check it out when I want, get some amazing tips, and get a real insight into the mindset of some of these managers. It's a really great part of the website here. Do urge you guys checking it out. But I want to get into these questions, guys. I want to answer as many as I can between now and the end of the deadline. Of course, we have 25 minutes till the deadline, so make sure you get them locked in, guys. Plet's saying Saka versus Brighton is a good option, he thinks. Currently, he's his captain. I also have Kane, Salah, Maddison, and Mount. I think you have some great options there. I think Kane probably would be my pick, but I see why you think Saka is a great option against the Brighton team who are struggling right now. Lynn, Mahrez and Gordon out for Maddison and Bowen. I would be questioning the Bowen minutes, so I think that's a little bit of a risk move there, Lynn. I think I could see better moves for you. Vinjay, if you brought in Fernandez for Salah, then would you captain him or still Kane? I think if I make that move, I go big and I go for Fernandez as the captaincy option personally. That kind of really justifies the move. Rio, hello Nacho, will I start Robertson or Weghorst? I personally would have to go for Robertson. Yes, they are playing against a Man City team that are likely going to score against Liverpool, but Robertson at any time, any place can deliver attack and returns. Weghorst, yes, he has a great fixture away against Newcastle, but do we back him based on the underlying stats and eye test recently? Probably not, and that's why I think I would go for Robertson of the two. Anthony, I have Mane and Salah. Should I bring in Kevin De Bruyne for Mane for a -4? Would I bring in Kevin De Bruyne? No, I probably wouldn't. I think what we're doing there is you're selling Mane because of his tough fixture, but bringing in De Bruyne, who's got an equally tough fixture. Now, the landscape changes a little bit if you're worried about Mane's game time. If his game time is a risk for you and a worry, then I don't mind the sideways move, but I'd probably look to go Fernandez, get some ownership in that Man United midfield. That's the route I would go down. I wouldn't be looking at Kevin De Bruyne personally. I think it's Fernandez if you are selling Mane. And Chubboy saying, is Doherty a good captaincy option? Personally, I wouldn't look to go Doherty. I imagine you have better options in your team available. So personally, I think Doherty is a good option to have in your team, not necessarily a good captain. And Danny, start White or Weghorst? Well, again, I'm quite confident on a White clean sheet here. But when we look at our algorithm points, this will be the ultimate test for you here. Game week 32, again, we can filter it by Weghorst, predicted to score 3.2 points, which I think is a little optimistic the way he's playing right now. Ben White, 4.5. So our algorithm has it down as White getting a clean sheet. And I think that's the route I'll go to as well. I think I would play Ben White over Weghorst. I've just seen enough from Weghorst to know that he is a dreamer's player, that he just really isn't delivering right now, unfortunately. And I am a Weghorst owner myself. Colby saying Mateta or Doherty and a -4 for game week 32, 34 and 35. Mateta or Doherty for a -4. I don't really understand that question there, but which one would I go for? I think I probably would go for Doherty and get some ownership in that Spurs defence. Victor, any replacement to Tierney under 5.5 million? I think a sideways move to Ben White is a really nice move for you to go to. But again, it's all about your team and status right now. I'm personally in a position where I have Kieran Tierney and I'm fully considering a potential transfer for him, but then I look at the face of it, don't have a wild card right now, only have a free hit available, and the way I'm considering it right now is I believe 2 free transfers in game week 33 is probably more beneficial to me than bringing in a replacement for Tierney this game week. So while I think there are good alternatives to Tierney like Ben White, I think I'd probably look to roll the free transfer if you do have that option available, but it's all team dependent. And again, guys, if you are enjoying the stream, please do drop a like if you haven't already. We do try and hit 50 likes every live stream, and I really would appreciate if you guys could get us to that points total. Points total? It's like a bloody football game. Jaffrey's saying Captain Bruno or Son. Based on our algorithm points, Son would be the one to go for. If you are bringing in Bruno, I think you could just double down on him and go big and put the captaincy on him. But if it is a straight shootout, Son is probably the one I would go for. And Shazad saying Salah to Kane for a -4. Well, do I like that move? I think you could do Salah to Fernandez and make that your go-to move personally. Tom, what are my moves? What are my personal moves? My personal moves right now is looking like I'm going to roll free transfer actually. I do have Tierney in the team and I am looking at potentially going sideways to Ben White, getting that single and double, but I also think the 2 free transfers in game week 33 is going to pay dividends. So, and I don't know what direction I'm going in right now, my free hit. So yeah, I think right now I'm going to roll my free transfer. And again, guys, if you are rolling your free transfer, let me know in the comments. I'd be interested to see if that's a popular strategy or not. Now, I know a lot of managers right now probably aren't pulling their free hit, but over on Fantasy Football Fix, we do have our algorithm 11, which we reveal every game week. And the brilliant part about this is in particular game weeks, it is massively, massively important to be checking out because it is essentially a free hit team. And I know in game week 31 with some managers were using their free hit, this is massively beneficial. And another reason why it is great is because it portrays which players are great for a 1 week punt. These are the players that we are predicting to score the most points that we amalgamate into a team. So we're going to reveal our Fantasy Football Fix algorithm squad here. And this is it. This is it, guys, right in front of you. And you can see, first and foremost, we do have Nick Pope between the sticks with that game against Norwich away. And Taylor making up a Burnley double up in defence. But importantly, we are doubling down on the Arsenal defence. Really do think it's a great opportunity for Arsenal defensive assets to do well. White and Gabriel, partnership has been brilliant this season so far, and I think either one is a great FPL option. I probably would just favour Ben White because of the price point effectively. Midfield, Fernandez, no surprise that he's in there with that away fixture against Everton. Harvey Barnes over Maddison. Again, our predicted points over the next 5 league matches has Harvey Barnes dominated Maddison effectively, so Barnes is going to be the man to own. Rafinha, as I mentioned, second highest predicted points this game week. I think he's a brilliant differential captain if you really want to go rogue. And interestingly, Salah coming into the equation, touted him about a month ago as a potential differential option between then and the end of the season. Hasn't really stepped up in the Watford team, but if there ever was a time to do so, it would be against this Leeds team. So he's going to be a really nice differential for you guys to consider if you are potentially really swinging against some of the popular picks in FPL. And Son makes up the 5-man midfield, and he also has the captaincy. Again, as I showed the predicted points, he is top of the charts for predicted points, so again naturally picks up our captaincy. And we have a front two, Harry Kane, no surprises whatsoever, and Lacazette makes up the 2. Lacazette, as an owner, I've been a little bit disappointed with him recently, but he's ticking over okay, and we know that he isn't going to be picking up monster hauls, but he does pick up assists and he's consistent. So that makes up our algorithm squad there, guys. I'm going to leave it on screen for you guys to check out. Again, really beneficial if you are looking for 1 week punts. I would urge you guys considering our algorithm squad. And again, if you are free hitting, really beneficial for you to check this out as well. So I will leave it on the screen for you guys for a little bit longer before we delve into other parts of the site. And again, only 15 minutes until the deadline, guys. So please do have some sort of idea on what direction you are taking your team. Get them teams locked in just in case you do miss that deadline. Worst decision that would be, obviously, you not live it down. Danny, thank you. Do I buy James in addition to my Rudiger or Trent in addition to my Robbo? Now, Danny, I think if I had to back a defence between now and the end of the season, then it would have to be Liverpool. Do I like the move this game week? No. This particular game week, I don't like you going for Trent on top of Robertson. I think that transfer can wait. And equally with your move of potentially getting in James on top of Rudiger, I don't necessarily think that is the game week to do it this week because of the Champions League involvement for Chelsea. So if you had to go for one, I probably would go for the Liverpool double up personally. But you have to remember that there are double game weeks coming up for Chelsea, back to back in 36 and 37. So that might sway you. But worth mentioning again, can't see any Chelsea defender starting every single game in those 2 game weeks. It's worth noting. Best replacement for Jimenez. Well, again, all about how much money you have available, because if money is no object, then Harry Kane or Ronaldo is probably going to be the best short-term move for you. Again, getting the algorithm points up again, because I think it's a really good opportunity for us to back up some of the opinions that I am sharing. Now, if we're looking at from game week 32 to 38, Ian Nacho tops the charts as forwards below 8 million. Now, I'm going to do it from 8.5 million just to open it up a little bit so we can see there. Now, again, Lacazette coming into the equation again, I'm not huge on him because he doesn't deliver those big hauls that we want as FPL options, but Mr. Consistent, has doubles in 33 or 36, so he could be a nice sideways move for you if you have them funds available. Ian Nacho, I have question marks because of his game time. If he does put a string of games together, we know that he's a brilliant FPL option. I just think it's a little bit too risky to go down that route. And Che Adams, interestingly, is another option. He's making up a lot of his points in game week 33 in our projections, so he might be more of a short-term move for you and a bit of a differential. Otherwise, Tony ticks over nicely. Richarlison, if you want to double down on Everton's fixtures later on in the season. But I think Richarlison could be a move later down the line. And I think Mateta is probably the value pick if you want to go down a cheap option. He'll tick over nicely for you and, of course, has that double in 37. So it's all about the price that you have available in your squad. It's worth mentioning that as well. Tedo said, this week's best captaincy option, Kane, Son, Fernandez, KDB or Salah. Our projected points has Son, top of the charts. I personally think Fernandez should definitely be considered as well. And of course, Harry Kane. I wouldn't have KDB or Salah in the consideration right now as we speak. Chaboy saying, would you trust Arsenal's defence to hold up without Partey and Tierney? It's a really interesting point and one that I definitely do agree with. I think this Arsenal team, longer term, isn't going to be the same without Partey and Tierney. I can't remember how long Partey is out for. I can't remember if it's injury or I believe it's maybe due to a suspension. But I personally think that they aren't going to be the same, especially if they play Tavares at left back. And obviously right now, Cedric playing right back isn't the same as Tomiyasu. So is it enough for me not to invest in Arsenal defensively? Probably not. I still think you can invest in Arsenal defensively, but the appeal isn't necessarily as much as it was when both of those are available. Arnav saying Robertson 2 TAA needed. No, don't make that move to Robertson to Trent right now. I would hold Robertson as we speak. Zamo saying Telles or Dallo. Really tricky one right now. Dallo is in a position where he could get rotated with Wan-Bissaka. Right now, Luke Shaw is injured. I don't know about the long term of that. So I feel like Telles, while he'll come in, it's just going to be a transfer waiting to happen for you. And I think Dallo's the same as well. I just probably wouldn't recommend any Man United defender as we speak. I just can't put my trust in either of those. And I think both of those are rotation risks later down the line. So unfortunately, I just can't really back either of those options that you are mentioning there. And Com saying, was thinking of doing cash to Doherty, but decided to hold the free transfer. Yeah, I think that's, I don't think that's the worst move in the world. I think, of course, if you hold cash long enough, he has brilliant double later down the line, but it's whether you hold it that long. Doherty, I think, is going to tick over nicely for you. I do expect him to feature in most games between now and the end of the season. It is worth mentioning that Reguilon, Sessegnon are returning from injuries and whatever happened to them. So it is worth noting that we have seen Doherty play left wing back. We've seen Emerson Royal come back into the fray. There's a chance, definitely, that we could see Doherty rested from time to time. But I personally think he's probably going to get the most game time of all the wing backs between now and the end of the season. It's worth noting. Sorry, guys. We'll just make sure my team is locked in. Apologies. I'm just double checking and triple checking to make sure I have it all locked in. And I do, which is good. So, just double checking, guys. I need to make sure I am in a good spot right now. And whether, and guys, again, would you consider possibly doing Tierney to Ben White in a free transfer. Let me know your thoughts there. But I think personally, I'm going to lock it in and just leave it with a rolled transfer. Right, we have a few more questions dropping in. Yakim saying, is it Yakim? Do I do Coutinho to Maddison and have double Leicester? I think one Leicester is probably enough right now. I personally just don't think I have enough trust in the minutes for Maddison and Barnes as a combination because of this second leg in Europa League. So it's worth noting that. Arnev saying, I have Foster and Pickford as keepers. Both are not good and no real good budget keepers available. Who would you recommend? I would just stick with those two right now, unfortunately. I think if you have to go and sell one, Pickford to Schmeichel will probably be my recommendation. If we look at the goalkeeper department between now and the end of the season, because I imagine that's the sort of time frame that you're looking at, Ramsdale is top of the charts, rightly so, but Schmeichel only just behind him there because of his 3 double game weeks that he will be having. So if you really aren't a big fan of Pickford, I think Schmeichel is an easy sideways move for you to make. Then you can just keep it for the rest of the season. You know he's going to play pretty much every game. And he has multiple doubles, which I think is really beneficial as an FPL asset. I'll leave that on screen for you there just to check out as well so you don't miss it. And guys, we have less than 10 minutes until the deadline, so please do not miss it. If you are getting your teams up together, make sure they are locked in and you're not missing anything. I just really hope you guys aren't in a position where that happens. I just think it's going to be absolutely killer for you. So make sure they are locked in. Please do that for me, guys. I don't want to be the reason why you do miss the deadline. Right. Questions. Cole Bean saying, I have Tierney and Broha and I'm free hitting in 33. Do I go for Doherty or Mateta? Whoever I pick will only play in game week 32, 34, and 35. Does Doherty score 4 points more than Mateta in those weeks? Right, so 32 to 35 is, let's get that up for you, mate. Right, 32 to 35. We have Doherty scoring. And it's going to be quick maths here. So 11.4 points over that period, but you're free hitting in 33. So 11.4 minus 3.2 is 11.2, so it's 8.2. Remember that figure, 8.2. Mateta, on the other hand, 18.4 minus 3.5 is 11 points. So Mateta would be the route for you to go to. That's some quick maths there. You tested me. I know you stitched me up there. So I'm going to say Mateta is the route that I would say for you to go to if you're going down that strategy of free hitting in game week 33. Ramsdale or Salah? Got to be Ramsdale. Salah blanks in game week 33, you have to remember. So it's going to be Ramsdale as the pick. Amir, I'd go Gabriel over White or roll the transfer. Yes, thank you. Yeah, great recommendation. So I'll just referencing back to what that was a question to when I asked about my team. Yeah, Amir, I really do appreciate that. I think the rolling the free transfer is probably the route I am going down. But yeah, I appreciate that there probably is a bit more of a temptation to go for the Arsenal because they got the single and the double game week, of course. But no, I think I probably am going to roll the free transfer. I think it's going to pay dividends in the long term. I'm just going to accept that Arsenal probably are going to keep a clean sheet. And I'm going to get hit by that rank. But I'm hoping I can pay that back later down the line. Rio, Saiss and Coutinho replacements. Well, if you're in the market for a Saiss replacement, I do think that Ben White is the route that I would go for over the short term. Coutinho replacements, again, Martinelli I think is a really good option for you as well. So I think those are two I'll consider in the Arsenal camp. Adnan saying play Weghorst or Barnes in game week 32. Look, I think if you're looking at the upside, I think it probably is Barnes, but the minutes are a little bit of a risk. I'd question if Weghorst's minutes are a risk. Weghorst has not been delivering. Rodriguez has been. Could you see Rodriguez up top with Vidra potentially? That could be definitely an option as well. So I think I'd probably say to you, I'd probably play Barnes and hope he plays. If you're worried about minutes, probably go Weghorst. Dexter, I'm going to bench boost in 36. My confusion is who should be third attacker in game week 36. First attacker, Kane. Second, Laka. And third, Richarlison, who need a cheap one ideally to upgrade bench. Who should be my third attacker? Well, in game week 36 in isolation, based on the fixtures that we have right now, again, things can change. I don't know whether they are between now and then. Game week 36 for forwards, and it needs to be cheap. Like Pookie, 7 predicted points, has a double game week. He could be an option for you. Dennis, do you want to go back to Dennis? I don't know if you want to. So Pookie could be the answer to your problems. Is he going to be though? I just don't know, but Pookie would probably be the one for me there. Again, guys, 5 minutes till the deadline, so please do get them teams locked in. I'm going to keep up for you guys, just so I think it's probably the most helpful on the screen, the algorithm points for game week 32 in isolation, so you can check them out so that you don't miss out a thing. And you can see there Son topping the charts on 5.2 predicted points, Rafinha 5.1, Fernandez 5, and Havertz on 4.9. Please check that your teams are locked in. I'm just doing the same myself. Make sure you refresh that page and check your captaincy. That's the most important thing. If anybody cares, obviously my rank's okay this season. I'm happy with it. I don't know whether I will maintain it this game week. My team, just so you guys know, I've got Salah in goal, and while I'm here, I'm going to use the tools I have in front of me to check who the best goalkeeper is. Salah predicted score 4.7, Dubravka 3.8. So I always back the algorithm on Fantasy Football Fix. So I've got Salah in goal, back three of Doherty, Cancelo, and Trent. Midfield 5, Salah, vice captain Son, captain Rafinha, Saka, Kulusevski, Weghorst, Lacazette up top. A bench of Dubravka, Digne, and then the injured Tierney and eligible Broha, rolling the free transfer to hopefully benefit in the longer term. And I'm just going to accept it's going to be a red arrow this week, probably, guys. Let me know what your transfers are in the chat, and is it as depressing as mine? So I was saying bench Ruddy or Martinelli. I would have to say I would bench Rudiger and play Martinelli. I think the upside is there for Martinelli. I do think that I would probably go down that route. Again, if you're backing Chelsea for a bit of reaction, then sure, obviously go for Rudiger. But for me personally, I am a Chelsea fan. I'm feeling a little bit negative about Chelsea right now. I think they're in a bit of a bad spot. I don't necessarily think a clean sheet is going to be an absolute guarantee for them. I think Martinelli's ceiling is probably a little bit higher. I'd go for Martinelli personally. And again, guys, on your way out, please do drop a like on the stream. We always try and hit 50 likes. We're at 36. It's a big ask for you guys. But if there are 14 of you right now who have not liked the stream, I would really appreciate if you can drop a like on your way out. We have 3 minutes until the deadline. If we can get there, I will love you forever. And if you haven't subscribed already, guys, please do. Plenty of videos we're dropping each week, and we're going to keep the content going for you until the end of the season, so do not miss out, guys. And again, if you can drop a like, it is massively appreciated. 2 minutes till the deadline. I am here to help your questions. Drop them in, I will help you out. Otherwise, we're going to leave the projected points on the screen for you to check them out. And make sure you get your captaincy locked in as well. And that vice captaincy is important as ever, guys, to get that sorted. So drop any questions that you do have. Otherwise, guys, I think we are going to be in a good spot for game week 32. It's going to be really interesting to see how this one unfolds, because I think game week 33 to 38 is going to be where it really does accelerate the season. We're going to be seeing a lot of chips being played, different strategies, and people going into different directions. And that's going to be a really interesting time for us to see how it all merges. A lot of managers have used all their chips, only a free hit available. I see a lot of other managers haven't used any chips. So there's going to be some big rank changes in the next 8 game weeks, is it? So I'm really interested to see how that all happens. So again, guys, 1 minute until the deadline. If you have any last minute questions, drop them in. In a way, I hope you don't have any last minute questions, because it means that you have got your teams locked in and you can sit back and chill on this lovely Friday evening. But if you are panicking, I'm here to help, of course. But based on Apple, of course, we only have about 45 seconds. Ash, thank you for your time. Drop to like. Ash, really do appreciate it, buddy. Hope to see you in the next live stream. Hayden, Rafinha, Salah, Weghorst for vice captain. I would throw on Rafinha. Looking at our algorithm points, he's looking good for this game week. Again, though, if you are worried, Mo Salah, big game player, on penalties, he's probably the one if you are worried and you just want a guaranteed vice captain. Salah's the default, but I like Rafinha for this game week in isolation. So all about what kind of direction you're going for your vice captaincy. But I do like Rafinha as a vice captain in your team. But I think that's it, guys. I think we're 2 seconds away, guys, from the deadline. So hopefully you've had your teams all locked in advance. Really do appreciate you guys tuning in for this live stream. We got 44 likes. If you are still watching and you haven't liked it, and on your way out, please do drop a like to get us to them 50 likes. But I massively appreciate you guys getting us close to that mark, as I appreciate it's a busy time for content, a lot of deadline streams out there. So I appreciate you guys tuning into this one. Joaquin's saying he's rolled the free transfer. I really hope that does pay for you in the long term. And all I could do now, guys, is wish you a great game week. Hopefully it's green arrows. Again, all the information that you saw has been taken from Fantasy Football Fix. So if you are interested, please do check out our links in the bio. Make sure you upload your squad for free. Download the app for free. Get your squad updated. And get your squad uploaded and check all that. We're at 48 likes. I really do appreciate you guys getting us close to 50. Really do appreciate it. We're keeping up the streak of hitting 50 likes every live stream. We're one away, guys. Can you get us there? That will give me the luck I need for FPL. And who knows? Next live stream next week could be sat in the top 1K. Who knows? And maybe we can clickbait the hell out of the title. We never know. But really do appreciate you guys tuning into the live stream. Have a great game week. If you want to get us to 50 likes, that'll be massively appreciated. And there we are, 50 likes. And that's a great way to end the live stream. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. We will definitely be back for the next live stream next week. But there's plenty of videos going to be dropping between now and then. So hit that subscribe button. Don't miss a thing. Hopefully I can be in the top 1K by our next live stream and I can pass some more knowledge on. Have a great game week, guys. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.